Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our conference call for the season ticket holders this morning. I'm Gary Sussman, and I'm joined by the general manager of the Nets, Billy King. Good morning, Billy.
Good morning, Gary. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Before we start, Billy, you've been in the league a long time. Have you ever seen, in your experience with the league, where the off season generates as much interest as the regular and postseason now? It seems like it's 12 months, but the off seasons now are getting a tremendous amount of play.
I think it goes back to LeBron, when LeBron went to Miami, and I think that's from that point on. The off season has generated a lot of excitement on free agency, draft, and I think when LeBron, people can criticize him for the decision, the TV show, but I think it brought a lot of excitement to the off season. And so now, with him leaving there, and then Carmelo, and I think the NBA has done a great job now making it pretty much a 12-month NBA cycle.
And I think it has been great for the league. And speaking of the offseason, we have three recent signings, if you could just discuss them for just a bit. The first being signing Bojan Bogdanovic, who we acquired in the 2011 NBA draft. So it's been a 3-year process to finally bring him over. If you can just talk about the process and also what you see from him coming into camp in October.
Well, when we drafted him, we knew he had had a contract, a 3-year contract with an out, with a buyout. And throughout the process, we thought different times the buyout number he can negotiate and get it lower, and he wasn't able to. And that's really where why it took this long. There was rumors about being trades and different things like that. But the whole process was just typical of guys getting their buyouts. As you see, the Chicago Bulls are signing their player from overseas. I think it took Ginobili a while to get over. So it's part of the process when you do draft foreign players. That's why sometimes they drop in the draft, because they do have contracts with big buyouts. But he's 6'8", can shoot the three, can put it on the floor, has a nice body, can go in the post. The thing that always impressed me about him is how long his arms are, and the ability not just to be a standstill shooter, but to put the ball on the floor, and with his size of his body. It will take him a little bit of an adjustment, but I think it'll be a pretty quick one for him.
Okay, and Markel Brown and Corey Jefferson, who were 2 draft choices. Obviously, you had tape of them and saw them in college, but they both were in the summer league. What did you see from them in the summer league?
Well, the summer league, it's always tough for rookies, because some guys will go score, as you see some guys score great and look very good. Some guys will struggle a little bit, as Mason did last year. What I saw from both Markel and Corey, players trying to figure it out, the NBA trying to fit in and get a feel. And it was a little tough for them because we were in a transition of a coaching change. So the offense that they were running and different things that they were trying to do, they were trying to figure it out a little bit. Corey has great athletic ability and long arms, and someone I think that is a foreman that can make the jump shot and rebound the basketball, block shots. He's going to get a great chance to develop, just as Mason did playing with Kevin and our veteran crew. And Markel is extremely athletic. I think he'll have a chance to be a very good defender, and as in talking with Lionel, we need him to be a little more aggressive and a little more assertive, but I think he has a tremendous upside to play 2 guard. As he said, if he can play one, but I wanted to focus on just playing one position, get that down first.
And what we see from these guys is versatility, which is what Lionel had talked about in his talk so far, is guys being able to play either with one of the 2 or the 3. So it seems that we're also bringing in versatility in these players as well.
Well, that's something that I've always, going back to my days of playing for Coach K and working for Larry Brown and as a coach and working with him as a GM, is to try to get as many athletes and try to get as versatile as you can, because then it doesn't limit the coach when he's making substitution. Where you can say, okay, AK, you go in for Joe and you play the 3, or play the 2, or so you're not really tied into guys being one-dimensional, one-positional players. As you see throughout the league, it's becoming more that way. But the more guys, we'll continue to go in that direction of getting as many athletes as we can. I'd like to get as many 6'8", 6'9" athletes as we can get that can play a lot of different positions.
Okay, let's go to some questions from the season ticket holders. I hope I'm pronouncing this name name correctly, Dean Mavridis, or I believe that's his name. If not, we'll get you a free food voucher on the concourse.
Are you paying for that, Gary?
I believe that I'll expense it. Thank you.
Okay.
He would like to know, as a lot of people would, about the health status of Darren and Brooke. So that, I guess, is a good way to start them.
They're making great progress. Darren was in seeing the doctor last week and on track, out of the boot, and making progress. You know, the goal is to have him where he's on the court running and doing stuff probably beginning of September. And Brooke saw the doctor just, I think, a day ago or 2 days ago, and he's doing great. You know, great balance. Pictures all look good, so they're both on target. And I think somebody even asked, is there going to be a minute restriction? I think at this point we're just going to progress them and continue with their rehab and continue to put the goal in, ready to practice and go full tilt on opening day. Training camp.
Don Reed was asking about the slow start last year and how to avoid that this year, considering new coach, new players. But yet, if you look at it, the core is still intact from last year. How do you look at that situation?
Well, I think that's a big one, Gary, that, you know, we do have a lot of guys coming back. You know, Darren and Joe now, this will be 3 years, be Brooke and Darren 4 years. So they've been together. A lot of guys, you know, Mason is 2 years, so we've had a lot of guys. Even though there's a coaching change, players know each other. And the biggest one is, you know, you can't predict injuries, but I think that was a big factor. But I think a lot of it starts in training camp, and, you know, and then speaking with Lionel and some of the things that he's looking to do, and guys understanding. And I think we have some guys that are focused and want to, you know, prove some people wrong. So I think it's more or less it starts in those 28 days you have in training camp to get ready for the season. And so our guys, they're going to be pushed. And Lionel's going to push them like they've never been pushed since a lot of the guys have been in for a long time.
Which transitions into a question from Kendall James regarding Lionel Hollins and him as the new head coach. When Lionel's been in this league for a long time, like 38 years as a player, assistant coach, head coach, but his Memphis teams, always competitive, always tough, always progress. What did you see from your viewpoint as an opposing general manager when you looked at Memphis and you looked at Lionel as the head coach and now as he's your head coach?
Well, the one thing, I think that the teams always reflect their coach and how they play on the floor. If you look at Chicago, and, you know, they reflect Tom Tippett on the sideline, his aggressiveness. Pat Riley was in New York or Miami, how hard and physical those teams play and intensity. And the one thing I always got from Memphis is that, you know, it was going to be a dogfight every night, no matter who played. It was going to be a dogfight. They were going to battle you inside. They're going to be physical, and that's something that, you know, you can give it a lot of credit to the players, but it was the coach that was setting the table for them, and so that's what I saw from Lionel. And, you know, I've known Lionel from when I was an assistant coach back when the Pacers with Larry Brown, and he was an assistant coach. You know, we talked then, and, you know, and the one thing I always know about him, he's old school. And just when we visit, we talk about Cotton Fitzsimmons or Larry Brown or the different stories when he played, you know, with Billy Cunningham, different things like that. I mean, he learned from some great people. And to me, is if you've been in this league this long and you worked at it, I had a chance to talk to Jerry Colangelo when I was in Las Vegas about Lionel, and he was saying, you got a great one there. And so he has a great resume, and just looking what he's done on the court even speaks even more than his resume.
Talking about the team and the roster, we now have 15 players signed, and so this may be an obvious question, may not be an obvious question, but Saeed Hussein wants to know, do you anticipate any more off-season moves? But now that you have a full 15-man roster, it seems that your roster is pretty set going into October.
Yeah, I think we're pretty much set at this point. We'll add some guys from training camp, but I think, you know, we're pretty much done this offseason. You know, I never say never, but I think we are.
Eric Vollmer asked about Karasev, Sergey, who we acquired, and who's someone that you had on your radar for a couple of years. This is not just something that just happened over the past month or two.
Yeah, no, we had him on the radar. We tried to acquire him and come to draft time, and so it was. I was meeting with him yesterday while he was in town, and he's excited. He's got a lot of work to do because he didn't get to play last year, but he's young and has a great upside. And we did a lot of homework on him, but now we'll
Ian Minervi asks about Paul Pierce. Paul was a valuable contributor last year. Went to Washington, a free agent loss. But how do you assess that situation? And he wanted really to know how do you replace Paul? So I don't think that's like a black and white question. I think that's an evolving question.
Yeah, I mean, you don't look to just replace one player. I think you look at it and look at different guys will do some of the things that they do. Mirza will bring a lot of the 3-point shooting that Paul did. Leadership that Paul brought will have to fall on Kevin, Allen Anderson, different guys like that. Darren, Joe, Brooke, but a lot of the intangibles, I think Paul left with these guys that they can carry on is the intensity and toughness that he taught. Even though it's 1 year, guys can pick up on that. But a lot of the offense things he did, will have to be picked up by different guys, and the defense will be picked up on different guys at the four. The one thing Paul played the 4 position, so now with Brooke coming back, I see KG playing some 4 now. You have Mirza playing some 4. Karolinko may play some there at that position. Lionel's talking Mason, so it's going to be a committee of people, not just one guy that's where it's going to fall on. It's got to play the 4 spot.
Talk a little bit about Mason. Drafted last year, the expectations were not very high. He ends up having a tremendous year. First-team All-Rookie, now invited to Las Vegas to compete against the select team. Talk about his progress and what you've seen, and really, if anything has surprised you about Mason, and what his ceiling is, if you can even look at it right now.
Well, Mason had a great run. Started last summer where, I think I said he'll be playing a lot in the D-League, and that wasn't a knock to Mason. It was just looking at the depth that was in front of him, but I think he persevered and worked through that. Ended up being first-team All-Rookie. Now the big thing for Mason is not to be satisfied. He can't sit back and say, okay, I've accomplished, because really, he hasn't. There are a lot of guys that come in as a rookie and have a great rookie year and don't build on that, and that's the big challenge for Mason now, is to build on that. He'll start practice this weekend with the USA team, and which I think will be beneficial for him. But he's got to continue to work and be hungry and build, and we've got to challenge him to be better. To create some more offense for himself and develop a post move and rebound the ball better. I mean, that's the one area, and I think Mason knows that, is rebound the basketball. If he can get that down where he's a consistent rebounder, then he's got a great future in this league.
And speaking of players, evaluating players, Sheil Flynn asked a very interesting question about the Nets' advanced use of analytics, evaluating player performance, and that's a big topic, not only in basketball, but in baseball and football. And so how do you view analytics and the use of it in terms of evaluating players?
Well, I think analytics are big, and I think it's in the creating. I think analytics has always been in it. Some teams use it do a lot more, and some teams not as much. But you always use different stats to judge it. But I think it's always got to be used as a tool. It can't be your end all be all to make decisions on. But I think it's part of it. It's a great tool because there's certain things that translate from college to pro. Whether if a guy was a rebounder in college, traditionally they're going to be a rebounder in the pros. If a guy was obviously a great shooter in college, for example, Kyle Korver, they're going to be very good shooters here. But there's evolving analytics that are out there. Bobby Marks and I were just looking at something someone sent us yesterday, and we're going to set up a meeting with it. But I think it can't be an end all just to say, okay, analytics is the only way to go. It's a tool, and it's a tool that can be used very wisely.
And that aside, Jean-Claude Pierre was interested in 2016, even though we haven't even started this season yet. But how do you, plan out your years in terms of when you're going to have cap space, what you're going to be looking at, free agents that are available? I mean, this is a process that is kind of something you work on almost all the time to see what you may have available, what you can do, what you can't do, and who may be on the radar for you.
In my office, Bobby and the rest of the guys, we have it there 3 years out, and we keep it always going with our current roster and with their contract situation, which players have options, which don't project what the cap's going to be, next year, what the cap's going to be here 2 years from down the road, and so
lot of activity this offseason, a lot of teams, draft choices, free agency. How do you look at first the Atlantic Division and then the Eastern Conference? It seems that the division and the conference have actually gotten stronger from last year to the start of the new season.
Well, I think you take Miami now, and they're not the favorite, obviously, without LeBron, and Cleveland becomes a team that moves to one of the top teams in the East by adding LeBron. But once again, it's going to take how quickly they gel together. But when you have LeBron, it helps to gel. I think Toronto, bringing everybody back, they're going to be a good team because they have a nucleus, and they did a job last year. Chicago, Derrick Rose. It's the same question marks we have with Brooke and Darren. Basically, Brooke, more or less, how do they come back, and what level do they come back as players? If they come back, I think if Brooke comes back at the same level and Derrick Rose comes back, so both our teams will be very good because they're all stars. But the East has gotten better. Washington's going to be a good team. I think they added some good veteran pieces, and John Wall and Bill did a good job last year and projecting, but they lose Ariza, so they lose some youth and add some veterans. Charlotte losing McRoberts, I think, get hurt, but adding Lance Stevenson gives them some toughness in the backcourt. Can they duplicate the success they had this year? And then you've got some teams in the East that are rebuilding. Indiana, I think, losing Lance Stevenson will hurt, but I think you still have Paul George and you still have a nucleus there that's pretty good. But losing Lance will be a big adjustment for him because he was hard to guard and gave them that edge that they needed there. Not sure if we're missing anybody in the East. In New York, I think having a new coach running the triangle will be different for them. But I think they're trying to bring in different pieces and change it. So how quickly do they adapt to the triangle? Traditionally, it takes teams a little longer at the start, but they pick up later. But so that's going to be the biggest adjustment. I think the East will be exciting. I think for us, we just got to continue to build with our guys, and I think we'll have a chance to surprise some people because I think our guys have a little bit of an edge to them, and understanding that people are sort of not looking at us as one of the teams think that we're not that good, but I think we will be good. I'm confident that our guys are working hard this offseason, and Lionel and his staff are prepared for the challenge.
Okay, Billy, thank you very much. I hope everybody's enjoyed the call, and we look forward to seeing you once the preseason begins in October. Thank you, everyone. Have a great summer.
Okay. Take care, guys.
Goodbye.